Hello, and welcome to Stand Up Your Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes never control us. So I have an adorable little pig here. This is actually my prototype. When I started making him for the video, I had no pattern. I just had an idea, and I wanted to see if I could just do a video for my very first one without having to make one and then do the video. So my little guy here has spots on it. It's a little pig, and they are not permanent. It's the kind of felt that has a little backing on it. It will not stick to the pig, but I'm just going to wait and see if I want to have spots on it or not. So I'm going to show you how to make the curly pigtail so that you can actually curl it around and it'll hold its shape. Has a little pom-pom on the top. The eyes are going to be made out of felt, and then the really cheap googly eyes. But there's something very special about this little pig, and I want to show you what it is. There's a quarter, and now it disappears. There's another quarter, and another quarter, another quarter, and our little piggy just upped its value by $1. So one of the exciting things about this little pig is that the yarn, it's actually Mainstays. It was the only pink yarn they had at Walmart. I would have gotten the Super Saver and it would have been $3.77, but the Mainstays for the small skein was less than $3, and it is more 397 yards. The Super Saver, I think, was 364 yards. And it's enough to make one pig, and you have some left over, but you're not going to get a second animal. Little ball feet. It's weighted down in the back so that you can put all the money in here, and it's not going to tip it over. And then what makes it so special is that you just unscrew the snout and pour the money out. And screw it right back on. It has a start and an end point. And here you go. It's a bank. It's cute. It doesn't take very long at all to make. It's adorable. It has 4 river rocks in its butt to weight it down. I don't think it was even necessary, but better safe than sorry. So what do you think? Cute little eyes, cute little snout. I don't know how much money it'll hold, but I definitely think it's going to look good on your craft table, and that some child is going to want to take it home and start feeding it money. I might even let this one be sold with a treasure in it. And there it goes. Nice and sturdy. I love it. I hope you'll love it too. And I hope you will make a piggy bank for your craft table. $2.98, less than about a quarter for the bell, and I think about 44 cents for this. It goes on a mason jar. I think they call it a bank lid, and you can get it off Amazon very inexpensively. And I think there's 12, but I think you might want to make 12 banks because I'm doing a series, and this is my second bank. The first bank is going to be uploaded before the little piggy, and then the piggy will follow, and then I have an idea for a third bank. So I think we can have banks on our table. All right, I hope you'll like, I hope you'll subscribe, and I hope you'll give me a thumbs up. Take care, and God bless you. Let's talk tubes. I cranked out a body tube and make it 75 rows on your 46 or 48 pin, whichever one you're using. We have the end that we're going to cinch up, and on this end we're going to put our cord so we can also draw that up by going under a row, over a row, under a row until we get back where we started from. I have 4 feet on the 22 pin, and they are 27 rows. 2 little ears that are 17 rows each, also 22 pin, and my head. Generally I do 50, but this time I thought, I'll just go ahead and make it 55, just in case. Okay, and what are we going to do with these tubes? Well, let's get started. I've turned the 55 row head tube in half, and then taken my 4 fingers, put them into the end with the cord that we can pull, and did both of them just to narrow it down a bit but not close it up. And then I'm going to do just like the body tube, flip it over and do a row coming around this way. For each of the little feet, we'll merely cinch up one end, snug up the other end a little bit, and then make a typical beanie. We've all made a lot of beanies, haven't we? So we'll pull it up, snug it up, and do all 4 feet this way. Nice and neat, roll those stitches in. Tie it in a knot. And then to save time, not having to bury any stitches, just snip them off, pop it around, and we're also going to put a drawstring around the top of each 4 of these little feet. So there's a little foot, a drawstring on the head, a drawstring on the body, and when we get that done, we'll figure out what to do next. I have all the little feet prepared, and the ears. I'm going to, I don't know if you've noticed, but one of the rows is way more loopy than the other because that's the row that you cast on with. One of them is going to be much neater because you cast off with it. So I want the neat row to be the tip of my ear. It'll draw up nicer. So for this ear, I'm not even going to tie the knot yet. I'm just going to draw it up so I know that that's going to be the end of my ear. This loopy nonsense at the bottom will be where I sew it on. So this will be the tip of my ear. Same thing over here. This is the loopy end. This is the nice cast off end. So I'm going to pull it up. Take a little bit of the slack out of the bottom here. And put it aside until we're ready to sew it on. So 2 ears, 4 feet, a head, a body, and I'll show you how we're going to do the tail at the end of the video when it's time to have a tail. Well, off camera, I stuffed my feet. So I just wanted to show you that just stuff them, get them all pretty firm because they're going to have the weight of the piggy bank and money on top of them. So it's a pretty firm little ball. I haven't stretched my stitches out, but it's also not wimpy. And I don't cinch it shut all the way. I'm looking for this surface right here back from my drawstring, coming back 1 or 2 V-stitches, and that's where I'll sew it onto the body. So I don't even cinch this up all the way. It gives me, could be my imagination, but I believe it gives me a flatter surface to sew onto if it's not all the way up like this, where it's rounding. This is flat. And then just tuck these in so we can sew them on with nice long pieces. Okay, so we have the 4 feet ready. We have our ears tossed off to the side. And now I don't know really how this is going to work. I'm just going to take you along on this journey with me. This is the head tube, and the reason I added 5 rows is because I kept having visions of feeding the money in through the snout. I probably won't use this. I'll probably switch over to the mason jar bank lid because it's so hard to get it open. I guess that's good for your cheese, but I don't think that's going to be good for little hands. But for now, I have this on here because it makes me think of a snout. How far I'd want it to come out. I just think it's, if it weren't for the stiffness of it, that I would go that route. So I have the drawstring here, and I'm going to stuff it out into it as round a shape as I can get it, and then still be able to draw this back part up. I'll start the stuffing off camera, and then I'll come back when I have it almost stuffed so you can see how it looks and whether or not it was a success or an epic failure, and we're going to have to do something different. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, well, I'm so excited because it seems to be working. I have my stuffing coming around. I made this a little bit short, my drawstrings, so I had to be careful here that I don't undraw them. But let me get just a little bit more stuffing. I am absolutely able to draw it up around this Parmesan. And I know I could have made the head even longer, but I didn't want to get it so distorted that it didn't look right on the body anymore. But pigs have elongated heads. I always look at pictures of real animals before I try to make them. Okay, so grabbing my tiny little short ends here. See if I can come up a little higher. Trying to keep my computer screen out of the picture. Pushing that tube forward and closing this up. Whoops! Just shot my pin right off the table. Okay, so here we have kind of an elongated snout like pigs actually have. I'm going to go ahead and snug this up, put a little bit of stuffing right here, and then I'm going to reinforce this because this is a pretty tight, tight closure here. I'm really putting quite a bit of pressure on my yarn. Okay, just pulling it up over, snugging it up. Before I pull it shut, I'm going to just put a little bit of stuffing right here so we can't feel that jar. And recheck just to see if my head is nice and round. And you'll pick the side that you think is the nicest to be the top. And we might actually have to shift our jar around in there so that when we put the bank lid on, that it's going the direction we want it to go. I'm going to go ahead and cinch this up. Then I'm going to actually get new yarn, go through these stitches, and cinch them up. I don't want to pull this so hard that I end up breaking it. Okay, so off camera, I'll thread my needle, just go around through all of these stitches, trying to catch all of them, and then snug it up again. So I'm going to pause. I'll be back in a minute. I just tied off my second row and got it a little bit snugger. And so now to finish it off, and I tied it and I tucked in all those other ends. So now I'm going to come back one V-stitch off of the row that's wrapping around my cast on row. So right back here. I'm going to get into those stitches and give it another snug, and I think that'll close it up. Just one stitch back. And then any remaining little opening that I have, I'm just going to sew it shut. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, look, it closed up quite a bit more. So I'll give it an extra little tug, knot it off, and then just stitch it back and forth until it's closed. The end is closed up. Still have my tail hanging. I've switched to the banker's lid, looking for the side that I think will go down, and I think it might be here. We can always turn our jar inside a little bit just by twisting the lid. We've got a little bit of give in there. And I have a little bit of a flat spot right here, so I think it's perfect to be the underneath of the head. And now we're going to stuff out the body to give it a nice, cute little round body, and we'll sew the feet on, because this project's not going to take very long. This is my body tube, so off camera, I've stuffed it. I haven't even knotted this yet. I just cinched it up just in case. I don't even know why it's staying together so good. Maybe because this is kind of a rougher yarn. It's actually Walmart Mainstays, and I would have got the Red Heart Super Saver, but when I went to my store in my little town, it's almost as though they aren't going to even have yarn anymore. I was shocked. This was the only pink that they had on the shelves, and there was just lots of empty shelf space. So I want this body to be firm. I'm going to roll it to elongate it. I'm going to be perfectly honest and say I have some tuck stitches right here. I was having problems with the yarn when I started out, and then I got my dryer sheet out. It's helped a lot, but then when I got to the head and the feet and the ears, I wasn't even having a problem. So it could have been a tension, the yarn first coming out of the tube. Who knows? But I was able to crank it out without losing my mind. And I'm going to make sure that this, with the tuck stitches, if it's just a couple, will be the bottom. And then when I put the feet on, and we're going to do that before we put the head on, I'm going to make sure that I'm covering up those stitches and that I have only pretty stitches showing on the top. So get this really nicely stuffed so that it has density to it. I guess that's the word I want to use, because we don't want it just feeling, I don't know how to say how we don't want it to feel. We want it to be firm so that it can hold the support, the weight of the head once we start getting money in the bank. And I'll show you how I'm going to weight it down a little bit so that the head, when it gets the money in it, can't so easily tip the bank forward. Okay, so I'm going to tie this in a bow so that I have the option of coming back and putting in a little more stuffing if need be. And so I can even add it just with it like this. And so if you're hearing odd sound, it's starting to rain. We're in the potential path of a hurricane. So we're expecting, I don't know, 8 to 10 inches. But I'm going to keep making the video, even if the rain becomes a little bit bothersome. So let me get this up a little bit. Putting the head on top. I might have to, there we go. So it'll be rolled up just a little bit. So we're going to give it like a snooty look. Rather than down like this, we're going to roll its head back up just a little bit after we get the feet on it. When you get it positioned, just press down on one and then start sewing around. And the way you get a nice look is to make sure you go under these rows. So don't go under one row and then skip a row and go under a row, because that'll cause a pucker. Now you can go under 2 rows with your needle and still get a nice look, but don't skip a row. So if I'm coming in this row right here, I could also come in under both of them, but don't skip a row. Don't go under this one, skip a row, and then come over, or you'll see that. So let's get them sewn on. I'm going to have to go to work in a few minutes, but I'm going to try to get all 4 of these sewn on before I have to leave, because I have to deal with the potential hurricane. So I could be at work for the next few days. But I'm hoping I get to come home tonight and finish this video. Then I'll send it off to my son to edit. Okay, I'm going to sew on these 4 feet. 4 little feet are sewn on. My threads are buried. It's standing pretty good. I think the one that has a drawstring, I think I'll make that be the back. So now it's a matter of positioning the head. I have a little flat spot right here that I'm making the underneath part of mine. So I'm spun my jar around so that the slot would go up and down. So I'm going to just rock its head back just a tiny bit instead of coming straight down with it. Because I think when I get the weight of the money in there, it's going to want to pull it down anyway. So off camera, I'm going to get myself a nice long string, just a thread to start sewing with. And the way I like to do it is I sew closer into my body in the bottom of the head, just going all the way around, and then I'll come back out a little bit further onto the body, a little bit further up onto the head, and go around a second time. This is 1 row of stitching around the neck. When I got to the back, where I sewed this shut is about where it met my back. So that's where I closed it up right here. That's giving it the roll, because when the money gets in it, I know the weight of that money is going to pull that snout down. So I'm going to continue around one more time to give it a nice sturdy head. So just coming on around, and I'm going deep into my body, and I'm going under on the head. I'm going under 2 rows at a time. I'm not trying to go under every single row, just trying to get it nice and secure going around there, so nothing comes undone. To get the ears ready, this is the neat end that was the cast off row. It's going to have the neater stitches, so I just pulled it fairly snug to round it off and put a simple knot in it, buried my thread. Now we're going to position them onto the pig. So I do want to roll its face down a little bit and figure out where I'm going to sew them on. On this one, I'm going to do it about right here. Take your ears and position them up there. And flopping, oh, that is so cute. And flopping down, I'll put the face towards you. Okay, here we go. Because it's kind of got its head up in the air. But just where they're flopping down like this, leave yourself plenty of room to get those beautiful, huge, big eyes in there that we're going to put on. So I have a needle threaded up on this one. Not going to do anything particularly special. Just face it towards me, find my position. I'm just going to go with this right here. And I'm going to sew around the bottom, underneath side first. Just by going straight with one of my rows. So it's a straight back. And catching these stitches that are wrapping around the cast on thread. Because it's the underneath part of the ear, I don't feel the necessity of going back to stitches that are off of that row, because they're not going to show. They're going to go underneath. So let's see. So here I have it just coming just straight across, snugging it up a little bit. Looks like this. Okay, going to go once across the top. and then knot it off and call it done. Go do the next one. And again, just following my row. Snugging it up, and there's a cute little ear on. Now, some of you say that you have trouble positioning ears. So here's what I would do. And it's kind of what I do in case I would want to move this ear up a little bit. I'm not knotting it because I might want to fine tune it. Taking the next ear, and then I have to leave and go to work again. You can see my water supply back there. My son is going to come. It'll take him about an hour and a half to get here, and he's going to take care of my dogs while the storm comes in. Okay, so how can I know when I have this centered? So I'm going to go from where I believe this snout is coming off of here. I'm going to find what I think is the center, follow it back, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows showing before my ear is on. That could be a little too much, but let's just see what happens. Following it back again. No, I think that might work. I'm looking at my sample over here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sew it, start just like the last one, going underneath. Pick out a straight row to follow. Going right under the stitches right off the cast on row. Staying in the same track on the head. All right, I think I'm going to be able to just tie these off. Oh, it just looks so cute. Here we go, like a flying pig. So I'm going to tie it off and bury the threads. And something else to keep in mind when you're making these adorable little animals is even when you're making it and you think it's not going to be very cute, or you almost think you might want to give up on it, it's the finishing touches that make it adorable. It's putting the eyes on, just adorning it, giving it a bell, tying a ribbon on it. Those are the things that make it just come together. So be patient. All right, I have a cute little pig coming along. There it is. Our little pig needs some eyes, and I kind of wanted to do them felt this time. So I have a double layer black felt. This is a little bit too big of an oval, but I'm just going to wing it. I'm going to just whittle this down just a tiny little bit. So it's kind of big. I'm going for something cartoonish. So I have my 2 black cut out, and really it's just what makes you happy. It's a little less than an inch. Then I want it to rest on top of the white. So I have some white right here. So I'll just take my black one and nestle it, line them up right here along the front, because I'm going to have the black come right up and line up with the front edge. So I just want the white to kind of peek out of it. So I'm going to start cutting the white right along the bottom of my black, and then letting it, I'll show you in a minute, letting it come up like a little crescent moon. and then go right back in and hide into the black. So it'll look like this. Okay, so the white is just peeking up, lining it up at the bottom, letting it peek up at the top. Put the googly eye in there. I think I like that. And then the extra felt going around it pops it. So I'm going to give it a trial. I love it. I'm going to give it a trial run. So now we have to assemble it, including it needs its black eyelash. So this is already hot. Don't want to overdo it. And lining it up so that it's kind of lined up with the bottom of the white and the white's just sticking out. Okay. Same with this one. I have two eyes. And I'm going to peel the paper off. These googly eyes are so cheap at Walmart, and I did see them at Hobby Lobby. Very inexpensive. And I don't trust the adhesive on them because I know it won't stick. So I'm going to put a spot of glue right in the middle and put these on in the middle of that black. Well, I think they look pretty cute. So now we're going to need eyelashes. So I'm just going to get my black. Okay, I want enough to do two eyes at once. Cutting out the shape of the eye. And now just doing the points. So I'm going to come out this way. I need to leave enough of a rim to put the glue onto. So I don't want this part right here to get too narrow. Making them nice and long, spiky. Okay, let's see what it looks like. Well, it'll look kind of like that. That's the top of the eye, the white coming up. Okay, so I'm going to run just a little bit of bead of glue around this edge. Doesn't take much. And do the same thing on this one. Now, where are they going to go? So I'm going to do a test. Okay, I want to round this white a little bit. Okay, this one looks pretty good. Alrighty. Could look like this. Okay, so I'm going to just trim this white a little bit more along the bottom here so it doesn't show so soon. And you want to make sure you get the whites positioned right. Having trouble with the overhead camera. Kind of like that. It's just a fun way to do the eye. I'm taking this little bottom eyelash off. I think it's too much. But you could just play with it until you like the way your eyes look. If you make a mistake, it's just felt. Start over. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go with these eyes. Miss Piggy has some fabulous eyes that are going to be very noticeable. So I have this color for the nose. I'm going to have to go with this. And I'm putting my mason jar bank lid on it and adding about 1/4 inch so that I can wrap it around. And then I'll take this brighter pink. It's pretty much the color of my pig. And I'm going to just cut a piece that will fit here. So about that wide, and I'm just going to eyeball it coming down to cover the edge of my lid. Going around the edge here where I know I'm going to be cutting out just a couple little extra. Okay, I'm going to start trying to wrap the edges down now without burning myself on this hot glue. Okay, that'll be my darker pink nose. All right, it's a pretty close match. I'm going to take the factory cut edge and put it at the top. Here's our pig snout. And what are you doing, Chloe? Okay, I'm going to go ahead from this side. I'm going to poke a little hole in the felt and just do one single slice because I want it to stay shut. I don't want to see it there. Okay, so what I hope is that when the money goes in, that it'll just close, come back together again. We have a bow right here, so let's do one final cinching. Mine just seems to be really doing well, so I'm just going to go with what I have and tie that final knot or two here and bury the thread. All right, let me bury these threads, put its nose back on. Okay, and because that jar is not glued, we have a little bit of wiggle room. Not bad. Okay, so now I need to give it some nostrils. I have my eyes on. I'm going to admit that I redid the nose, and I'm going to tell you why. It might seem small, but I did my join right at the nostril, and I could see that. It needed to be underneath, down under its chin. So I made a new one. So since it's a kind of a cartoony thing anyway, I made his nose bigger, and then I wrapped this around. When you cut this, make sure it's wide enough that it's going to line up on this front lip and come all the way so you don't see any metal here. And now for some of the adornment, I love to dress them up. So I have some purple. It was between purple and black, but I'm going to make it a collar. And this is a really deep purple, even though it doesn't look that way. I have rhinestones, and they come on a roll. I got these at the dollar store. They're Trim Orner Adorno Simplicity. I don't think it was very much, and I use this a lot. I get a lot of use out of this because what I do is I don't use the whole width. I cut out pieces. So I have this. You could use anything. This one right here was a bedazzler, and it looked really cute. I just started putting bedazzlers on there, but to make it quicker, I'm just going to super glue this on, and it's going to become the collar that I'm going to wrap around just to make it look a little blingy. So I have my glue gun here. Don't have quite long enough of a cord, but I'm going to, let's see, let me move my bank over. Just going to not even go under every one of these. I'm just going to secure this end here right into the center. Okay, so now I'm going to have that secured. I'm going to run up a little jiggly bead, just staying where my jewels are going to be. I don't want to get outside of that. Okay, and just laying it down into that, pressing down a little bit. And just finish it up here. Ooh, hot, hot. And it's going to be cute. Here we go. All right, so I think that's going to be good. I'm going to bring it down and secure it under his chin, her chin, since... Okay. Trim this. I think I'll round the end. Like a belt, kind of like a belt. And this will help hide the part right here where we had to close up the back of the tube. Okay, as it turns out, I don't even know how I did it. I got this exactly the right size. So cutting this off, I'm just going to put some glue right there and close it up. Okay, so I have 3 rocks in this stuffing, nice and deep, but kind of down, the center of gravity down towards its feet. You won't even be able to tell they're there. Definitely has a little bit of weight back there now. Okay, so I'm going to close up the tail. Still has a bow in it. I don't want to break that thread because this is very important thread right here because it's the cast on or the cast off. If it breaks, then everything comes apart. So another yarn that I'm going to use to go through here. I can stick that down in the hole. So I'm just going to thread my needle and use a different yarn to go through there. I don't want it to break and then the whole thing comes apart. So this will just be extra added sturdiness. And there it goes. And so when I put that little spiral pigtail on there, that will cover that completely up. If it doesn't come apart while I'm trying to cinch it. Okay. That's good. Okay, so I wanted to do a little finishing embellishment. So I've taken my bell from Hobby Lobby. It's, I think, 25 cents when you count all the bells in the package and what it costs. I just cut a little piece of the purple felt long enough to hold it on, and I'm going to just run it up underneath the edge of its collar and glue it onto the collar, not to the pig, so that when it stands up, it'll have a little bell hanging down over this part right here. So I'm going to do that real quick and then show you how we're going to make the tail. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that on and get my Addi up here for the tail. The gun is hot and I'm going to just put a spot of glue here. Hold the bell, and the reason I did it this way is because I didn't want the bell have a pretty wide handle right there, and I wanted it to stay straight. So now I'm going to take my little pig, and I want the bell to be right here where I cinched it up, hanging right there. I'm going to hold that in place and roll this collar up. Put another spot of glue right here at the top of this purple. Oops. Roll this collar down over it. Okay, and I have one more little finishing touch, which is a little white heart that I want to put on there, and it's got a little bit of glitter on it, so that it looks like that. Okay, I'm going to get the Addi ready so we can start working on a tail. Okay, so if you had an I-cord machine, and I do not, you could probably do this with your I-cord. But I don't have one, so I'm going to work with 3 pins on my Addi. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going under, around the back, under this black pin, and then coming all the way around till that black pin comes back up. I'm going to pull this thread down, go under the black pin, and you could come into here every time if you want to. It could become tedious. We're only going under 3 pins, but I'm going to come pull this down. The thread's going to want to rise up because we're only dealing with 3 pins. So you want to make sure that it's going to trap the yarn and go under all 3 pins, all 3 of the black ones, and then come back around. Now, I've never done this before. This whole pig bank has been a prototype. I didn't even have a pattern when I started. Maybe you can appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to just take my pink pipe cleaner and get it started here because that's how I want to see if this will work. I made the tail on the other pig I've showed you a couple times, but I didn't have the control of making it, twist and curl. Okay, so now this is kind of in the way. My pipe cleaner is in the way, but I'm coming under all 3 of the black pins again. Let me get this down so maybe you can see it. So under the first one, the second one, pushing the yarn down for this Might get my yarn pick. Just make sure that it goes over the nubs and that you're trapping under all three black pins and going down in. Let's see how this works. I'm hoping this will just get embedded in it. We'll see. Okay. Have to pull this pin back down. The first and the third one are going to want to rise up. The yarn isn't going to want to slide down over it very well. Okay, so now we're trapping the first one, the second one, the third one, and I am hoping that it's trapping the pipe cleaner too. Coming around, making sure that the yarn drops down over the first black pin, and it doesn't. It never does. Making sure it's down over the third pin, so just push it down from the back, going around. We'll do that till we get to the end of the pipe cleaner. Okay, I pushed that one down. This one's going to need a push. And it's easier to push it now than it is when you're working with it. So they're all three down, coming around. Push the first one down. Coming into the second pin, push this third one down, the yarn. Okay, pushing it down again. Coming around. Okay, it slid down that time. This one's not sliding down so easy this time, so I'm going to use my yarn pick. Help it. I think it's because the pipe cleaner's in there. Okay, but I got it down. I'm going to pick it just to make sure it drops all the way down. Okay, coming around. Popping it down. Just make sure you're getting under all the black pins. This one's got to come down. Pretty sure it's that pipe cleaner causing that to be difficult to get down. Still want to try it though. Okay, so I'm going to work my way around until I have a longer tail. I'm going to just pause and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm back and I know that this cord is going to stretch up this way. So I've done about half of my pipe cleaner, which was folded in half. And I'm going to go ahead and bring it around and cast off. And hope it works. Never done this before with the pipe cleaner in there. Okay, so we just have 3 stitches to cast off. Can't be that hard. Okay, 1, 2, and this third one. Okay, so let's be careful with it. I'm going to get my machine down real quick so we can work with the tail. Okay, so here's the end of the pipe cleaner sticking out. I'm going to snug this up just like we were pulling the end of a beanie. There it is. See, it's stretching out up over the... Oh, it's going to work. Okay. Encasing it. Pulling it snug. Not bad. Okay, and I'm going to snug this end up. This is the pointy end, so that's the end I'm going to sew onto the pig. Okay, that couldn't have gone any better. So I did it about halfway up and then stretched it up over the tube, and I'm going to tie this off. And I folded the pipe cleaner over, so I'm going in between the pipe cleaner here to hold it into place so it won't pop out. Tie a knot. And I'm going to do that one more time. Make sure I'm getting in between the pipe cleaner that I folded in half. I think I am. Okay. I'm going to just bury this, running it down through a few of these stitches. And I think we'll be able to spiral the tail now. And bury this end, because that's not long enough to sew with. But bearing in mind that that's going to be my sharp end. Okay, I'm just going to take this two little rough ends here and fold them over. Okay. I can spiral my tail now. And I'm going to just sew it right over, just sew it around, get it secured on there, and then I can start spiraling it. Yay! Okay, so let me get a nice long piece of yarn that I can sew with. Won't be any of these. Okay, let me get another one. Okay, so I like to tie a knot in my beginning yarn. This is really snug stitches here because it's where we double cinch this up. Okay, and leave it long enough to bury the end, but I just tie it on. And then this is the end that I pulled under, so I'm going to have that onto and buried under here. So I'm going to start stitching it on. I'm so excited that this worked with the pipe cleaner. I just really didn't know what was going to happen. We have a hurricane coming in tonight, Hurricane Beryl. You might be seeing it on your news. So I'm trying to get this little pig done and get it sent to my son to edit. Okay, I'm kind of spreading this out just a little bit here to cover this hole. And he is on a 50-foot yacht out in the ocean or at the marina, but they're going to get some pretty heavy seas out there and a pretty big uh, surge. So hopefully he's going to be okay. The boat will be okay. We'll be okay where I live because we're in the storm path. Alrighty, I'm going to pull this into the middle behind this tail and tie it off. One more tie. Now, if all goes well, I can spiral this tail. Let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. Pigtail. There we go. Okay, we have rocks in its butt, weighting it down, 4 rocks in there, and I'm telling you, you cannot tell they're in there. We have cute little ears bending down, a little snout. We have the bell in the front hanging down over this part. I think it's pretty cute. We have a spiraled up pigtail that I think will hold its shape. So what do you think? I'm having trouble keeping it in the overhead camera. I wasn't sure about giving it a mouth. I looked at pig pictures. I thought about maybe the mouth should go down here, but maybe in this case, less is best. Now, you might want to give your pig some spots, some dark, maybe black spots or something. I don't know. I don't want to do that to mine right now, but I think that this turned out pretty good. Put the money in, just hold right here, unscrew it, take your money out. These lids have a starting point and an ending point, so they always go back to the same place. There we go. A way to get the money in, a way to get the money out. Well, thank you. Give me a thumbs up and a like if you enjoyed the video. Really struggled with the overhead camera and trying to keep the little animal in it. Remember to subscribe and have a wonderful evening. I don't know where you live, but if you're in Texas, I'll be praying for you that you make it through Hurricane Beryl unscathed, that there'll be no damage to your property or to your anyone in your family, to your vehicles, that it's going to not be a bad hurricane. All right. God bless you.